Can Mike McDaniel fix the offense? You better hope he can. What is up, Finn fans? We are talking offense. We are talking Mike McDaniel, and we are talking Tua Tagovailoa, because those are the three things that need to be fixed, because this team is not the same team it was in 2023 with the offense, with a lot of different things. So we're going to look at a bunch of different things. We're going to listen to some things. But overall, we're going to do the things I said. But before we jump into that, if you're like, this team stressing me out, the thought of the draft, free agency under Chris Grier stressing me out, the thought of going over this offense is stressing me out, today's sponsor's perfect for you if you are 18 or older, and that's Via. Let's go listen to past again. Sponsors helping the channel stay afloat, stay alive. We keep the lights on. It's not like I'm singing or anything, but it does help. So if you're into that type of thing and you would like to check it out, click the link in the description. So we are going to jump into this Mama Jam. First, there's two articles that I want to talk about. They're not that long, craziness or anything like that, but it kind of talks about where Tua Tagovailoa finished among quarterbacks in 15 areas, one dynamic improvement, one regression. And then there's another one that says the stunning final numbers on the drop in Dolphins' big play. Then we're going to listen to Mina Kimes. She had somebody on talk about the Dolphins offense. It's not that long. It's like a minute. It's like 2 minutes long, where they really go in depth on the Dolphins offense. And then we're going to look at how many times they faced two high, one high, man coverage, zone coverage. And you'll be surprised from last year in 2023, where we had a very high passing offense versus this year, how many times they have faced, two high safety and then one high safety and all that stuff. So real quick, the message of the Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was delivered very clearly and very publicly this week. He cannot continue to put himself in harm's way, right? So he talks about all the stuff, the stats, everything. So here are where Tua finished the season in 15 categories. Let's start with two areas where Tua had enormous change from 2023, one positive, one negative. The positive among starters, minimum 50 pass attempts. He led the league with 112.7 passer rating when he faces a heavy pass rush, according to Pro Football. He completed 49 of 77 passes for 8 touchdowns and 1 interception. Again, there's this misconception, and I don't understand why, that when Tua gets pressure on him or when Tua has a free rusher, he gets flustered, when stats and film show differently. Again, led the league in passer rating, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. That was stunning and welcome turnaround from 2023. When facing a pass rush barreling in on him, Tua had an abysmal 57.5 passer rating in 2023. Only Zach Wilson, Bryce Young, and Mac Jones were worse among qualifiers per PFF. Tua completed 46 of 13 when pressured. So again, big jump. But here's the one area where Tua declined markedly, and it reflected the stunning drop in splash plays in the Dolphins pass game. On passes that traveled at least 20 yards in the air, Tua was 27th in passer rating with a poor 78.5. He went 9 for 24 for 364 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on such 20-plus yard throws, completed just 37.5% of those passes, which ranked 23rd, conversely in 2023, among quarterbacks that threw at least 40 of them. Tua completed the 4th highest, which was 50.8% behind Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud, and Matthew Stafford. In 2023, Tua's 32 completions on passes that traveled 20 more air yards tied Stroud for 3rd behind Dak and Jacksonville's Trevor Lawrence. Where Tua finished among qualifying NFL quarterbacks in 13 other categories, courtesy of numbers of Pro Football, NFL Stat Inc., and Pro Football Reference. So passer rating, he's tied with Josh Allen for 8th with 101.4. Completion percentage, he is number 1. QBR, he is 15th with a 60.3. Interception percentage, he is 12th with 1.8. Yards per completion, he is 36th with 9.9. Yards gained per attempt, he's 18th with 72, barely above the league average. Sack percentage, he is 9th with 4.63. Yards passed per game, 4th with 260.6, behind Burrow, Goff, and Mayfield. Fourth quarter passer rating, he's 12th with a 95.6. Third down pass rating is 22nd, 86.4. Passer ratings in the red zone, he is first with 120.2. He's ridiculous in the red zone. Passer rating when trailing, he is 9th, 99.9. And passer rating when kept clean of the pocket, he is 20th with 98.7. So let's talk about the stunning final numbers on the drop in Dolphins' big plays. A lot about this season was predictably injury problems, offensive line shortcomings, and mostly inadequate play against good teams in the cold weather. But one development was stunning as snow flurries and Kendall. This Mike McDaniel offense returned all the same skill players and added one of the top receiving tight ends in Jonnu Smith, and yet regressed from one of the league's best big play teams to one of the worst. The numbers are reflective of what your eyes told you. In 2023, the Dolphins had 59 plays of 20 yards or more, which was 8th. This season, they had 37. Only the dreadful Giants and Patriots had fewer. And there's this. The past season, no team had fewer passer plays of 40 yards or more than Miami, which had 3. In 2023, Dolphins had 5th most, which was 12. We mentioned this week how Tua's attempts completion accuracy plunged in the passing of 20 or more. Conversely, in 2023, among quarterbacks he threw, I already talked about those. Tyreek Hill downplayed the issue all season. He apparently was so exacerbated with his usage that he told reporters afterwards that he wants out and hasn't publicly walked it back since. So what the heck happened? McDaniel gave a lengthy answer this week. You ready for this answer? Because I think I have some stats to kind of poo-poo all over it. All defenders were deep, wider, and there's probably 2 safeties standing deep pre-snap where they were vulnerable in previous years. So the system, if you execute it properly within, you have to make people pay for what they are taking away. And once you make people pay, then it opens back up for the short drives that we all love and those explosive plays. And I think it took us a little bit longer for various reasons, including to his first injury, that I felt we didn't start seeing a normal defense until the Raiders game on November 7th. We probably have gone 25 games in a row where teams are playing or introducing different coverages or different personnel groups or matching personnel differently than what we've put on tape. But as you grow as an offense and execute the finer details of all 3 levels, you are best prepared to make people pay for defending the deep stuff. Here's my problem with him saying that. Your job as the head coach and obviously the offense coordinator, I don't know why we have one, is to realize these things. We've gone 25 games in a row where teams are playing or introducing different coverages or different personnels or matching personnel differently that we've than what they've put on tape. Your job is to go into halftime and make the adjustments. He is so bad at making adjustments. And again, I got stats to back up that he is not 100% true. The problem is the short stuff, while often effective, is difficult to sustain against good teams. Drives against Buffalo, Packers, and Houston kept being interrupted by penalties and fumbles, interceptions, breakdowns by a deficient offensive line and other things that typically made it difficult to mount 16-play drives against stout defenses. Yes, again, we look at these stats and we say, oh, the offensive line wasn't bad. They fed against bad defenses. Once they went up against good defensive fronts, they struggled. Whatever the answer, McDaniel needs to fix it. You simply cannot have 2 of the league's 7 highest paid receivers and not change your approach after those receivers finish 30th and 40th respectively in yards. But you won't hear McDaniel say Hill and Waddle need to catch more deep passes, even though that seems to be obvious, because he doesn't think in those terms. His mind tells him to seize on what the defense is leaving vulnerable, not forcing something that isn't there. Yet you consistently... I said to myself I would not get upset I said to myself, I would not get upset while making this video. And I'm breathing, and everything's good, and life is fun. Okay, I'm back. Because he doesn't take it in those terms. His mind tells him to seize on what the defense is leaving vulnerable, not forcing something that isn't there. But yet you consistently force screens that aren't there. Like, they are picking up on your screens, but you keep forcing them and they're not there. Like, that is such... Oh, it drives me nuts. So when he was asked if Hill will remain the number one option offensively, he added a caveat. I mean, I think if we're not doubling him, I don't see effective offenses predetermining what you're going to do regardless of defense. Everybody gets paid in the league. I don't go into a season saying we're going to be this. I don't think it's effective offense to throw the ball up into double coverage and throw to where the defense is. And so we'll always make sure that we complement each other so that there's no asset that people can double. You have to make people pay other places. Case in point, Jonnu's productivity. I think he really helped us out with taking advantage of the space he was given up to cover some of the deep zones that both Reek and Waddle. Also hurtful was the reduction in run plays of 20 or more yards from 17 to 11. The substandard offensive line remains at the core of the reduction in big plays, both running and passing. Yes, 100%. The offensive line couldn't be trusted to give McDaniel and Tua enough time to allow deep throws to develop. I've been saying that, but everyone wants to blame, the certain people. And the line couldn't create enough holes to spring big runs. One reason why Miami's yards per carry dropped from a league-leading 5 to 4, which is tied for 27th. So here's my thing, right? Here's my thing. I want to talk a little bit, and then we'll listen to what Mina Kimes and her guest had to say, because he said, Lenny is his name. He said something very interesting. Miami Dolphins faced two high safeties 58% of the time in 2023. And I'm going to show you where I'm getting these stats, because there's some other stats I want to point at and I want to talk about, and which was number one in the NFL. Now, from what you're hearing from Mike McDaniel, right? And again, you heard the stats. Last year, they were more explosive plays, more deep balls thrown, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. More last year. They faced two high safety, I'll say it one more time, 58% of the time, which is number one in the NFL. I think number two was like the Eagles, and it was like 53%. This year, they faced two high safety 52.2% of the time. They faced two high safety, cover two, whatever you want to call it, about 3.8% less than they did last year when they had more explosive plays. One high, essentially a single high safety, they faced 38% of the time last year. Not a lot of teams ran it because they were afraid. This year, they faced it 44.5% of the time. Now, I'm just looking at Tua. I didn't really look at anyone else. Again, I will show you what I'm looking at. So this offense with Tua at the helm faced a single high safety 44.5% of the time. He comes out and says these things, and I tend to be like, all right. But when you look at the stats and when you look at it, it's telling you something different. Man coverage last year, 37.5% of the time. Man coverage this year, 35.4. Zone coverage last year, 61.3. Zone coverage this year, 63.9. They weren't afraid of our offense is what happened. And let's kind of take a listen to possibly why. Let me unmute it so you can hear it.
Yeah, so I have the Dolphins and the Bengals left. Dolphins at 8-8 right now.
Essentially, why did your team miss the playoffs is what they're going to talk about.
Really, like the Tua absences, I think is probably a big deal. This is most likely a playoff team if Tua is able to stay healthy. So Tua health looms over this team, moves already. Discussion over this team, it always will. If we want to step outside of that and do something a little bit more addressable, right? There remains so much disregard for the offensive line in this organization.
Everyone sees it. Everyone sees it. The problem with the offense could be play calling. It could be execution, but it's the offensive line. Mike, if you want to run these pitches, if you want to run these double moves, if you want to run whatever you want to run, you can run it if you have the offensive line to allow these plays to develop. If you have the guards to be able to pull and get into position to block for said pitch plays, said screens, said things. But you and Chris Greer decided that it wasn't as important, and it suffered. The lack of offensive plays and the lack of the diminishing of the offense from 2023 to 2024 had nothing to do. Well, I wouldn't say nothing. I would say the blame is about 6% on the quarterback. Because we saw it with every quarterback. We saw it when Tyler Huntley went out there. He just kept throwing screens.
Just an unwillingness to invest in that spot. Robert Hunt's out of the
Another
building.
GM who I am.
Right. And so in order to make this offense work, you just need to have such an elite low time to throw, something that Tua is so good at, that fast release, that quick decision making, that even when like it works for Tyler Huntley and it works for Skylar Thompson, it doesn't work because they just can't get rid of the ball fast enough to make the line.
I've been saying that. You know, the Tyler Huntley is a very long throwing motion. And he also takes a beat to get the ball out. Skylar Thompson doesn't have a long throwing motion, but he it's here. Now, I don't want to be mean, but Skylar, there's a reason he was a 7th round pick. His processing time is just so slow. And like, again, I think his name's Lenny, is talking about is if you have such a dookie offensive line, you have to have a quarterback that gets that ball out quick, and that's what Tua does. So, you know, a lot of people say like, oh, this offense changed because Tua couldn't do anything else. And I've heard them say this. No, the offense changed because the offensive line was garbage.
Untenable. There's still no running game to speak of. Talked about this a little bit with the Bengals without Chase Brown. If I just know you have to live in drop back, I can deploy a lot more solutions than I can if I have to actually fear a running game, which nobody does against the Dolphins. So they're still really bad against playoff teams over 500 in the cold weather because they are so min-maxed. They're so one-dimensional in terms of how this offense is built. No matter what happens, Tyreek Hill's age and contract and Jalen Waddle's health and Tua's health, no matter what happens with the key guys in this offense, Mike McDaniel has to figure out a way. McDaniel? Yeah, McDaniel. I always get them wrong. McDaniel's got to figure out a way to make this offense a little bit more balanced, a little bit more NFL grown up at some point. If they're going to be able to take the leap from like, wow, cool, zany stuff you do, to like, all right, you're an actual scary playoff offense.
Yes. That's the problem. Video over. We're done. Go home. Woohoo. Yes. Stop trying to be cute. I'm not the only one who says it. You guys say it in the live stream. He gets cute. Against the Jets, the last game of the season, and I didn't do a film breakdown because my eyes, I'm not going to subject them to that. Our guards suck. Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg are garbage. And what does he decide to run? A double end around that got blown up for like 4 yards lost. Why would you think that was a good idea? Like, why are you getting cute? Or throw okay, we'll set up 2 screens. Okay, they're really getting on our screen, so we're going to set up a screen over here. You're going to pump fake to that screen. Then you're going to go to the other side, and you're going to throw it to that screen. Do you understand what it takes to run a screen? Because a screen essentially is your quarterback running backwards as your offensive line has to move out and give up on blocking a pass rush to block for said screening. If you got 2 of them, how in the God's green earth, if you can't block a normal play, are you going to block? He gets too cute. Instead of just hard-nosed style offense that you incorporate the speed and the receivers and you just incorporate that stuff, man. Stop being so cute.
When Tua got hurt, this team people had pointed to the lack of success that they had with backup quarterbacks. Although he just finally got a win with one, right? By the way,
yeah.
with Huntley, and they said, "Wow,
this getting against the Jets because Tua can't go, so like they need to do a second one now."
And there was this. I saw like this sort of sentiment see how important Tua is to the offense. That was kind of presented as like evidence of Tua's value. I see it as evidence of how unbelievably fragile the build is of this team, which isn't to say that Tua is valuable to them.
Yeah.
But you
let's learn to decipher things, right? Let's learn to look at things in a certain way. Tua is a good quarterback. Is he elite? No. And again, I have 3 elite quarterbacks in the NFL, in Josh Allen, in Lamar Jackson, and in Patrick Mahomes. Other quarterbacks are above average. I think Tua is I rank him like 11th in quarterbacks. He's a good quarterback. He'll win you games. And if you build the team right, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be elite, it doesn't have to be top 10 around him, he'll win you playoff games. I think he's a good quarterback. But she's not wrong, because again, if you lose your starting quarterback, no one's sitting here expecting, okay, you lose your starting quarterback, the backup should play just as good as the starter. No, because he's a backup for a reason. But it shouldn't be such a drop-off. Like you saw with the other teams this year, right? You saw with the Minnesota Vikings. You could say what you want about, J.J. McCarthy was a rookie and Sam Darnold, whatever. You could say with Will Levis from Jordan Love to Will Levis. You could say, you can go when Patrick Mahomes got banged up in the playoffs and Chad Henne came in and Matt Moore came in and they moved the ball. You know what I'm saying? They moved the ball. They still had somewhat of a successful offense. That's because your offense isn't so fragile, like Mina Kimes is saying, that if you built it just primarily around one guy, it crumbles under everyone else.
Cannot create an offense that's so dependent on everything you just described in terms of the quick release. This team is not well constructed. And Ben, I'm just looking right now.
Hence, fire Chris Greer. But for some reason, we don't want to.
So the Dolphins finished the season 30th in run DVOA. They have not been able to run the football in this.
God, who's worse?
Mike McDaniel 2 era. I know, right? I'm guessing it is Vegas. Yeah, Vegas and New England.
Yeah, it tracks.
So here are the teams in the top 10, 11, I guess we go down. Baltimore, Detroit, the Bills, the Packers, the Eagles, the Falcons and the Bucks, Commanders, the Cardinals, the Chiefs, and then the Rams are just outside. Like those are
playoffs. Like how many of those teams that she just named that are able to run the ball are playoff teams?
Are the playoff teams, and a lot of them are pretty good at passing.
I have not watched this, just so you know. I watched like 2 seconds of it. I was like, ooh, this is interesting. I need to make a video about fixing this offense, and I did not watch this.
The ball, but looking at them, there's a bunch of them that are actually outside the top 10 in passing. Mm-hmm. You cannot succeed in this current era of football with as bad a run game as Miami has, and everything they do this offseason has to be based on fixing that.
Yep.
Playoff football, December football, January football. You need to run the ball. It's about trenches. I have been talking about trench play for years on this channel. If you want to be able to win a playoff game, if you want to be able to win when you need to, like in 2023 against the Ravens, against Buffalo, who's going in there licking their wounds, against these teams, you got to be able to run the ball. You got to bring in a Derrick Henry, who I wanted the Dolphins to sign. He wasn't coming to Miami, though. He was probably looking at our offense saying, they're going to want me to run screens left and right. They're going to want me to go out. I just want to run people over. That's what you need. That's what you need. And people are mocking that Boise State running back. His name has just escaped me. But mocking him going to Miami at 13. And I'm like, we don't need a running back. But then I'm like, I'm not going to be upset if we draft him at 13. But would Mike McDaniel know how to use him?
When they took Devon Achane, right? It was kind of like, whoa, cool, right? Fast and everything. And now
he's a great player, but
yeah, they took him to be this whirligig screen swings, pass catcher out of the backfield, which is just a disregard for what the running back position actually needs in terms of a guy who you can put the ball into his belly 4 yards by line of scrimmage 150, 200 times a season, right? Like that. Why was Bucky Irving available for the Buccaneers? Because he can't be that caliber of a player. He can't be that high volume of a player. And you kind of need that guy to make a running game go in the NFL. Something that the meatheads have always told the nerds about the running game that we've always kind of struggled to understand.
The Buccaneers, who have invested heavily in the draft capital and free in their offensive line, and look how it's paid off. So,
this Dolphins, the Tua thing and the backup quarterback thing, it's like, man, if you want to argue to me that Tua is integral to the offense, I will argue for you that the offense has been built such that Tua has become integral.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't make it so that you need him. Also, help him out. Have a run game. Have an offensive line. And again, I'm not saying top 10. I'm not saying elite. But give the man more than 40th. I think he's 44th in the NFL in time to throw. Can he be like 20th? Can he have time to throw? Can you give him a run game where all of a sudden the play action is actually scary? Because look at this. This is where I got my stats from, right? And then you look here, right? First read rate in 2024. Right? Jameis Winston threw to his first read consistently, right? 58 point, number one in the NFL in throwing to his first read. You got Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, third in the NFL in throwing to his first read. All the way to it was 27th in throwing to his first read. 27th. A lot of people say all he does is throw to his first read. All he does is throw to the first read. Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, Joe Flacco, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow. They all throw to their first read more. Second reads. This is where you go, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert up there. That's where you want to be. To his 14th, thrown to his second read. But and then you look at last year, again, when the offense was good, when the offense was explosive, he threw to his first reads more. What did I say, 27? He's fourth throwing to his first reads. Throwing to his second reads, he's not 26. Do you see the flip? This year, on a less explosive offense, he was throwing to his first reads less, getting to his second reads. Because his first reads, those deep plays were not there. So he had to get to his second read. It's just different. It's just there was something else. Motions. Jeez Louise. Well, can you guess who was top with motions? 77% in 2023, 2024 when it comes to motions. Pretty sure the Miami Dolphins are going to be up. Second, 71. Matthew Stafford had more motions, 70. It's like you just got to do better with these things. Overall, to fix this offense, got to stop being so cute, right? Tua is injury prone. There's no getting around that. I've already come to that conclusion when he got hurt week 2. If you guys remember, I was like, we can't do this anymore. So I'm going to talk about backup quarterbacks. We're going to talk about I'm making a whole video about what to do at the quarterback position. Like I have a whole video about that. But this offense is very easy to fix. Like do what Tampa did, like Mina Kimes said, invest in the offensive line in the draft and free agency. It is important. The Dolphins offensive line is where they lack. They have great weapons. They have running backs. Again, these are these scat backs, so you need a bigger back. You got a tight end. You got garbage at offensive line. You have everything but what's important. Invest in the offensive line and put some depth in there because injuries happen, man. But overall, to fix this offense, it's easy, man. It's so easy. It's like, but Mike McDaniel doesn't want to do it because he doesn't want to. I feel like he doesn't want to come off like he was wrong in his assessment and he was wrong in how he did it. But you were, man. You're trying to be a finesse team in an NFL. You're not playing flag football. You're not playing arena football. This is the NFL. You can't be a finesse team. When it's 40, under 40 degrees, finesse doesn't work. You can't be finessing, 30 degree, 20 degree weather. You can't. And that's why we struggle. That's why we lose against playoff teams, because they are hard-nosed, gonna punch you in the mouth teams. You notice I'm saying we, as in the team, because it's how it's built. It's the atmosphere. It's the players. It's everything. So that's how you fix it. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think they should stay with the status quo? Do you think they will fix it? Because I personally do not think they'll fix it. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you. I think I got something planned for tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I will see you Sunday, 1 o'clock. I'm going to be live streaming the Buffalo Bills taking on the Denver Broncos in the wild card game. But like usual, stay classy. My fins up.